Today at Hodge Podge I'm making this super awesome regular show cake. I'm using half of a bowl cake, so as you can see I've cooked just one of the tins into a nice round bowl and we want it to sit nice and flush, so it's time to do some trimming. Getting our bread knife, we're going to trim off the edge so that it sits nice and flat. Now when you're doing this, if you cut a little bit off and a little bit falls off, it's all good, because you can just tuck it in and stick it back down with some buttercream when we put that on. See, as you can see, one of my little areas flopped off, but that's okay, we can just stick it back on. So we're going to want to make it nice and flat, cutting off any extras that you see or feel, and then we're going to do a filling. Once you're happy with the flatness of your ball cake, you can then slice it in half. As you can see, da-da-da-da, nice and cut. And then we're going to fill it with some buttercream. I have some orange buttercream. Well, it's orange tinted buttercream, but just for something different when you slice into it. So I'm going to fill the cake up with my orange buttercream, and then we are going to crumb coat the rest of the cake as well and pop it in the fridge to set. Now that our crumb coating is all set, I've transferred the cake onto a cake board, as you can see, and it's time to start rolling out our fondant. So I have tinted this a nice blue, which turns out to be almost the same blue as my rolling board, but we're going to continue on anyway. So rolling out our fondant, we are going to do the back part of our trucker hat. So this was from a regular show episode where Rigby wants to win this trucker hat that says "I'm Eggscellent," and he has to finish a food challenge. I don't know if you've seen it. I have kids, so I have seen it. And this was actually for my nephew who was turning 10, and he loves the regular show. So I really wanted to try this out, and I'm so super happy with how this turned out. I think it's really great, and you can customize it for everything. So it doesn't even need to be a regular show hat. If you've got a fan who just loves trucker hats and loves slogans and stuff, make this in lots of colors. You can write whatever you want on it. But let's get back to the cake. So let's roll out our fondant. When we have it the thickness that we want, we're actually going to lay it, as you can see, just over half of the cake, because we're going to have the two different colours. We have the blue at the back. So laying the fondant over the back half of the cake, we're going to stretch it down and we're going to smooth it around the edges. Smooth it down as much as you can, pressing around the base of the cake so that you know where the edge is, and then we're going to trim off the excess fondant. But don't get rid of that fondant, put it aside, because we're going to need it for the brim of the hat later. So just using our tiny little pizza cutter, fondant cutter that I have, and I don't know the real name for, but mini pizza cutter fondant tool works for me, we're going to trim off the excess blue fondant. Now that we have the back of our hat done, we're rolling out some white fondant. So as you can see, I already have that rolled out. We're going to use my pizza cutter, fondant cutter again, and we're just going to trim that off so that it's nice and straight. Then we're going to get our edible marker, so the AmeriColor black marker that I have, and I'm going to write my slogan on the white fondant. As you can imagine, this took some time because I really wanted to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. So I'm going to speed this right along. It'll look like I'm doing it fast, but it actually took quite some time. But it says, "I'm Eggscellent." You want to make sure that you've worked out where you're going to put these letters so that when you go to put the fondant on the cake later, it actually fits in the middle. And then it's time to apply to the front of the cake. So we just want to get the straight edge that we've got at the top. We want to line it up onto our cake. I'm going to turn that around so you can see better. Ta-da! So we're going to line that up so that the slogan is right in the middle of the front of the cake. If you need to move it up a bit, we're just going to trim all that white fondant off later anyway, so don't worry about it if it overlaps. Pulling down the sides, and then we're going to trim the white fondant so that it meets in the middle with the blue nicely, just like a trucker hat. When you're happy with the trimming you have done of your white fondant, it's just a matter of smoothing out your white and your blue so that they join seamlessly at the top. You want to make sure that it looks like it's all one piece. So smoothing all that down, taking some time to make sure you have that all pressed, and then trimming off the extra white fondant that we have at the base. That way we can then add our brim onto our hat when we're finished with all our smoothing. We'd love to have you subscribe to Hodge Podge Australia. We do upload 2 videos a week, so make sure you hit the subscribe button below and you will be up to date with what's going on at Hodge Podge Australia. Adding in our brim of our hat, we bring back the blue fondant. We roll it out again. We're just going to cut a sliver off because we want a nice straight edge to work with. Putting that aside, and we're going to drape it around the cake, around the front, and we're just going to place it onto the board straight up because it's just going to dry on there. It's just going to be a nice big piece of dry fondant. So you can just place that all around the cake just the way a normal brim goes around the edge, and then we're going to cut out the shape of the brim on the hat. Last but certainly not least, let's not forget that buttony thing that's at the top of every hat. I have absolutely no idea what purpose it provides, and I have no idea what it's called. But let's put that buttony thing on the top of the hat because it really finishes it off, and we need those little finishing touches. So there we have our trucker hat from the regular show, the food challenge episode. I hope you love this hat. I really love this hat, and my nephew and everybody at his party absolutely love this hat. And as I mentioned, it can be customized to anything. So I've just added a couple of regular show figurines to the cake board just to finish it off, and I am thrilled with the result. I hope you guys are too, and we hope to see you again with more Hodge Podge Australia videos.